Happy Wednesday, January 29th. Can you believe it's the end of January already? This month feels a year long and a blink long at the same time. I don't know how. Anyway, welcome to the Good Doctor's Diagnose. I'm Dr. Kristen, and today I would like to talk to you about the Academy Awards, particularly the recent bout of nominations that came out for the 2020 Academy Awards, which in the major acting categories included only one person of not white identity, one person of color, and all the directors were male. So there's a couple problems with this. One is that there were some really incredible performances this year by people of color. Cynthia Erivo, who is a goddess of a performer. I've gotten to see her on stage. She is the only really cohesive thing about the most recent Bad Times at the El Royale. From what I hear, she's good in Harriet. It's not a movie that I have seen, but I hear she's excellent. But there's a couple things. One, almost all of the nominations for women of color going back the last 30 years have been of playing characters like slaves or domestic servants or abuse survivors and things like that. So there's that kind of like, is this really how we only see Black women? And then there's the fact that Lupita Nyong'o gave a roundly praised performance in Jordan Peele's Us this year. And Twitter, as it is wont to do, had feelings about a role like Harriet versus an original property like the character in Us being nominated. Everyone's very careful to say that there's nothing against Cynthia and her performance is incredible, but that there's some kind of problematic patterns that go behind this. Additionally, there were a lot of movies directed by women this year, including Little Women, which is nominated for Best Picture, but its director was not nominated for Best Director. Its director is Greta Gerwig, who was an Academy darling a few years ago with her most recent movie. So her exclusion is even more puzzling in that terms. And now, again, you could be watching this and saying, yeah, but Dr. Kristen, the Oscars don't matter. And to that, I would actually say, but I think they do. Because movies and Hollywood, whether you want them to or not, communicate deep things about our culture and what we value as a society and how we tell stories and who we believe is allowed to tell stories, who we subconsciously often, what kind of stories we engage with. So, for example, the most recent a recent example of this kind of egregiousness of who gets to tell the story would be the movie Richard Jewell, in which the actors take the writers and director took a real life character and quite amended her so that in the movie she behaves unethically when in real life that human never did that. These are the conversations that we at Abbey Research think we should be having, because if we continue to understand humans based on tropes of the past or myths of the past, then we'll continue to limit our human experience and our interaction with humanity in general. So what does the Oscars have to do with running a good business? Well, I would ask you to investigate who is telling your story. Who are you listening to? Whose stories are you listening to? And like the question we ask all the time, who's at the table? Who gets a voice in the decisions? Who gets to say and inform and ask questions? Are they people that look like your customers? Or are they people that look like you? If those are the same things, that's fine, but our guess is that they're probably not. This is an area of growth for everyone, and one of the most frustrating things about the Oscars so white is that last year felt like perhaps we were making progress. The year before that was, terrible, but 2019, maybe it was better, and then we come up on 2020 and we're back to 5 white dudes as Best Director, several of whom have been nominated before. It feels like inertia, like these Academy members are simply voting for names they recognize, and that's fine, but actors are increasingly frustrated by that too. For instance, we heard that Carey Mulligan, who's one of our favorite, myself and Dr. Aaron's favorite performers, is starting a movement to make sure that, to ensure that Academy members have actually seen the movies. Because it's kind of an adage around Hollywood that the average fan has actually probably seen more of the Oscar-nominated movies than many of the Academy members have. So again, who gets the power to call something great? Is it somebody who's engaged with the art, or is it somebody who's important in that world? And why can't that be the same people? And what does important mean? And all of these kind of things. So if you're going to watch the ceremony in a couple weeks, we would ask you to pay attention to the kinds of people that are nominated, to the kinds of stories that are being celebrated. I'm sure Sam Mendes's 1917 is a brilliant piece of cinematography. I personally don't think we needed another movie about World War I. We have a lot of them were solid. Could have used a lot of other stories about World War I that didn't include battles even. I'm sure that we could have done that. I'm ready for different stories. I don't know if you are too. I know I speak for Dr. Aaron when we both want stories we haven't heard before to be part of the process. Anyway, that's it for me for January. We'll see you again on Monday in February, which is bananas, with a much more business and less culture focused Good Doctors Diagnose. See you then. Bye.